I work on communications for Equity in the Center. We wanted to welcome everybody today to this session on collective calling in, sort of, to mark the first 100 days of this new federal administration. We know that this is going to be a big theme today. Lots of folks are talking about and responding to this 100 days. But we wanted to get in an early session to sort of help people process. Not from an events, perspective, but more from an interpersonal perspective, how this first 100 days have been. I know a lot of us are feeling pretty dysregulated and exhausted at this time. So we wanted to approach this from a healing justice perspective. And after that, I'm going to turn it over to my good friend and colleague, Sojourner Zenobia. You can find out more about Equity in the Center and our work at our website. The link will be posted in the chat in a moment. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Sojourner Zenobia to lead today's LinkedIn Live.
Hey, hi everyone. Sojourner Zenobia here, and I am an art-centered healing justice facilitator. And this really is an experiential journey that we're going to take you on as a way for folks to be in actual practice with themselves, with yourselves, with each other. And a way to really acknowledge that with all of the things going on that have unfolded in the past 100 days, that what I feel is the most important thing for us to remember is that we can have seeds planted in ourselves about what we want to realign to, and in our communities about what we want to realign to, where we're going to put our attention on, who we're going to give our power to. And first and foremost, please take care of yourselves and each other. And so that's really what this is about, is like, what is the practice of that? Because there's a lot of theory about it, and it's all really, really beautiful. And we can read a trillion books a year on the theory of we got us and taking care of ourselves. But what does it look like to embody that? And so that's what this session is going to be about, is the embodiment of it. And so really encouraging folks that to follow along with yourself, grab journals, with your teammates. Like, I'm imagining everybody pausing from their workday and tuning into this live and grabbing your journals and sitting with each other and taking this journey with us. And there's going to be reflection, there's going to be meditation, and a little bit of journal writing too. So if you're not catching it live, you can catch the recording. And throughout the recording, I really encourage you, if you're catching the replay, to pause and really do the writing, the exercises, to pause and do the interactions that I'll be guiding with Tanaja. And yeah, let's just jump in. And I want to start this with a question that I have posed in a number of my other groups. And the question is, in response to what's happening right now in our lives and our history, like, can we be in the imagination of who we are without white supremacy? So who are you without white supremacy? And we're just going to kind of like sit with that, and what comes up, Tanaja? Let's talk about it.
It's interesting. When I first heard this, my mind tends to go to things that are concrete. And I started trying to think in like the parts of speech and nouns and verbs and adjectives. And among the adjectives I thought about is, I am safe,
Mm,
I am happy, I am fulfilled,
yeah.
I'm creative.
Mm, mm,
Um,
mm,
and then in terms of, like nouns, I'm a writer, I'm an artist, you
yeah.
know, I'm, a mom, I'm a family member, but the things that stick with me are without white supremacy, I'm safe, I'm
Mm,
creative,
mm-hmm,
I'm
mm-hmm,
I'm rested, I'm
mm,
fulfilled.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's almost like everything kind of falls away in a sense. I think, you know, it's like the whole world kind of dissolves, because our whole world, like that's what we're swimming in, and then like a whole experience of possibility opens up. Um, I have a little bit of fear that comes up inside of me, and the reason why I think is because I get a little scared that, um, like, is it possible? We've just been in it for so long. We've been inside of this for so long. It's such um, a part of our DNA. Um, and I think I just sitting with that fear, like wanting to kind of like move it, be with it, move it through, and like what does it feel like and look like to be in the radical imagination of like the process of what it means to journey to a place beyond white supremacy.
Mm,
Um, and I just like have a sense of like deep remembering, like I think like my ancestors are coming up, being connected to the earth, you know. Yeah.
no.
Anything else for you?
I think that's such a you touched such a gorgeous thing, because there was a point, our ancestors somewhere back within us knew what it was like to live without white supremacy.
Mm,
And who
mm,
were those
mm,
people?
mm.
You know, you
Yes.
encourage me to sort of to seek the kinship of those people. And
Mm,
that feels like a wonderful
mm.
grounding reflection, and then a way to continue to focus my energy, because the thing I think about is, about this moment, we've been here before.
Ah,
We
yes.
have been here before. We have survived this before. We have been through things like this and still hold joy. And to think of these things, of our joy and our resilience, as ancestral and as
Mm,
something that has existed before white supremacy, is
mm.
a deep and grounding feeling.
Yeah. So like fear turns into excitement now because I'm like,
Indeed.
yes, like it is we have our bodies remember that time when, there's a remembrance and we call in our ancestors and like, that it's possible to move from that place. And so, um, yes, stirring the pot a little bit. I want to do this exercise. It's from a form called interplay, and I'm just kind of going back and forth. And it's doing something called I can talk about. So just deepening in this because you know just deepening more into this exploration. So then we can like maybe start to embody it a little bit, with everything that we've stirred up. So we're gonna go back and forth and I'm gonna say, I can talk about, and you're just gonna do like a phrase or a word, that comes up when we think about who we are without white supremacy. So for example, I'll say, I can talk about, lighting my altar. And then you'll go, and then we'll just go back and forth a little bit. And if you're in a group, if you're on the replay, you can pause and take time to do this. So, um, I can talk about being fully in my body.
I can talk about connecting deeper to nature.
Mm. I can talk about sensuality.
I can talk about food.
I can talk about, learning, ugh, learning the ways that my mother knows her way around the kitchen.
I can talk about seasonal harvests, like foods,
Mm,
specifically mushrooms and alliums.
mm, beautiful. Yes. So again, going deeper and you're going, deeper and deeper into our own remembering and wisdom. Choose one thing that we're gonna talk a little bit more about. So I'm going to talk a little bit and just do like maybe 3 sentences of a short telling of that thing. So I'm going to talk about a little bit more about my mother and her way around the kitchen. So who would I be without white supremacy? I haven't taken the time to learn my mother's genius around the kitchen. She is really a gourmet chef, and she sits with recipe books and reads them. And I feel a deep longing um, to understand her ways more, understand her her fascination with all things cooking and ingredients. And so, yeah, that's what I'll say.
I could talk so much more about food and cooking myself. I
Mm,
think that eating well and putting a lot of care into what you eat is one of the most tangible acts of self-love that we have. And for me at this time where like trauma tends to push me out of my body, the practice of being very methodical about the ingredients that I choose, the dishes that I put together, and the things that I feed myself is a deliberate and conscious practice of self-love.
mm,
um, and cooking always grounds me for that reason.
mm, beautiful. So, with these things that we are refining, the textures are remembering. Um, let's both choose something pleasurable and measurable that we're an action step that we'll do in order to ground even more in this practice. And again, it's so that we are constantly realigning with this vision and action of like who are we beyond white supremacy. And so for me, I this is the first time I've thought about this, but like I I'm gonna ask my mom, maybe we can like sit down and read a recipe book together. Yeah, that'll be my measurable and pleasurable. And to make it measurable, I'll plan to do that within the month. It'll give me some time and space to like make that happen.
Hmm. For me, I'm thinking I tend to just go to the co-op that I'm part of to go get my produce.
Mm,
But I always like there's this like fabulous, green market that I'm always driving past but never actually really going to.
mm,
And now that it's warm and we outside again, like it seems like a wonderful way to be in community with other people around food.
mm,
So I will go to the green market this weekend.
mm. Amazing. Beautiful. Thank you for doing that with me. And if, you know, again, the idea is that it's not something that, you know, every month for the rest of my life, I'm going to read a recipe book with my mom. Like that's a beautiful idea, but to make it something that's actionable, that feels like I could accomplish that in a month. Because we want our shifting of our compass towards our more remembering and ancestral ways, beyond white supremacy, to be attainable and accessible and pleasurable. So we're going to deepen even more. And I want to guide a little bit of a meditation. And this meditation is going to be, I think of it as an empowerment because I'm a Buddhist, and in Buddhism they do this thing where they give you empowerments. It's like energetic empowerments,
Mm.
and I always found it really fascinating. And I'm talking about this because I think right now we're being very disempowered. And all over the place, our power is being taken, our energetic power is being taken away through distraction, And through a lot of like misinformation and through a lot of just like things that are actually happening, but it are keeping us out of our body. And what does it really mean to access power?
Mm.
And so let's take a moment and just see if we can make power something that's simple and accessible to everybody in this moment right now. So that it's not something that's like, oh, they have power out there and I am disempowered, which, systemic power, having it and not having that's real. And we have to remember that there is also a deep power that comes from just being,
Mm.
that comes as our birthright. And it's our own energetic power, and that we can give ourselves daily empowerments through these rememberings and through just breathing and being. So let's just feel our bodies in whatever shape you're in. I'm kind of like leaning forward. It's okay to stay in that shape. And even in coming into this experience of silence, we're allowing the whirlwind of worries and concerns and issues in the world to fall away just for a moment. And in a beautiful sense, simplifying this moment so that it's just you and your breath, your body in the room. Notice as you come more and more into the body, how the body desires to move or shift. I was leaning forward. My body wants to lean back, and my body wants to be more upright inside of this moment. Notice if you can sense your own energy and your relationship to your breath, your relationship to the weight of the body on the earth. And see if you can even sense some kind of power in that simple relationship to just being in this moment. And in closing, before we close, we're going to invite in another power, which is Your relationship to spirit could be to the earth, to ancestors, to God, bringing in and inviting in the unseen world. Again, it could be your relationship to the earth and feeling if you can get a sense of another layer of energy or power that when you call, they answer, they arrive. Being with when you call me, I will answer. When you call me, I will answer. When you call me, I will answer. I'll be sitting, listening for my name. Just noticing the body, the energy, the presence, the activation of remembering. And if none of those resonate with you, that's okay too. That's also something to notice. And taking a breath, feeling the body on the earth, moving the spine a little bit, thanking your body, any guides that came to visit us today, gently opening the eyes. Anything's coming up for you about how that was? Can share.
It was deeply rich, in two parts. Like one of them, an animal jumped across me, so it was that little loving interruption. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel so much. It was a lot to feel weight shifting from my shoulders and more
Mm-hmm.
grounding and power in the base of my spine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I actually, I found myself thinking about, or perhaps communing with my great grandmother, who was the first person in our family who was really civically engaged.
Mm-hmm.
She was part of the first group of people to live in the St. Nicholas houses, the St. Nicholas projects when they first opened. And she moved into them. She had moved up from the South with my great grandfather, who was a veteran of World War I.
Mm-hmm.
And they were the first people to live in that apartment. She was the chair of the block association,
Amazing.
and very civically minded at a time when it was difficult to be so. And I just so I didn't know that about her until I was in my 20s, right? And so I don't know, something about her connects me to this purpose, I guess, because I wondered where that came from. It was nice to be reminded of her.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, memories. The remembrance coming up is the empowerment. My whole body feels like love, tingly, more grounded, more present, big heart energy. And just that, I always like to integrate movement songs because, movement songs are the thing that moves the movement, moves our movements. And so to integrate that history and those rememberings, that song, "When You Call Me, I Will Answer," it's a reminder that we're not alone.
Hmm.
There's a whole energetic world that when we connect to it, that is our empowerment. That is our power. That is real power.
Yes, indeed.
Um, yeah. And so I know we only have a few minutes left. And so I want to invite folks into thinking about what real power is, and that our power really comes from nourishing ourselves. And what is who are we beyond white supremacy? I think there's a world where we really are practicing this idea of "we got us," and what does that mean? So I want to invite folks into thinking about, as we're closing, the 3 to 5 people that are in your life, that are like the closest people in your life, and write them down. And um, spend a moment in writing, thinking about what you can do to nourish those relationships. Because particularly in our organizations that we're working for, we go to work every day and we like do all of this work for the people that our organizations serve. And then we come home and we find that our closest relationships are not tended to. And we're not working towards values and agreements, and mutual aid and those kinds of things with the people that are directly in front of us and beside us. And so, what does it mean to say, like, "we got us"? Um, and how do we put that into action? So, uh, take a moment and write one thing that you would do, to strengthen those relationships with one of those people. And it could be like writing a love note, it could be going on a walk. So always make it pleasurable and measurable, not like "I vow to blank," make it enjoyable, for ourselves. So that's like foundational to our movement, to who we are beyond white supremacy. Um, and so, yeah, I want to close by saying that we do got us, and it's in practice and it's in remembering, to realign with what power really is for ourselves, and each other. So, any closing thoughts, Vanessa?
That was so definitely wonderful. And definitely, like I said, so grounding at this time. For the rest of this day, and I imagine the rest of this week, lots of people are going to hear things about, things that have already overwhelmed us in the past 100 days. And I feel like this is a practice, and these are practices that I can return to keep myself feeling grounded and also focused on a lot of the things that matter very deeply. I know. I come from a family that's not particularly super close. Like we also are very much, we're poor black people in this country. We kind of sort of compartmentalize and soldier on. And in the course of that, we don't talk a lot about our family history. And so, like, I'm going to commit to talking to my stepsons and my nephew more often about our great grandmother and, some
Mm-hmm.
of the others in our family and who they've been. And I think that that's sort of for me like the antidote to a lot of what's going on right now.
Mm.
But this was definitely great at grounding, and it gave, as the young people say, it gave everything it needed to give.
It gave what it gave. It gave what it needed to give. Yes.
Hmm.
I feel, grounded, and I feel empowered. Um, and so, yeah, I just want to give everybody, I want to just say that we got this. We got this, and it's more subtle than we think that it is. It really is way more subtle. our movements right now than we think that it is. So, yeah.
All right.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much, Sojourner Zenobia, and thank you for everyone who tuned in.
Mhm.
We'll be excited to share and post the recording with all of you, and
Mhm.
have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.